and welcome to Education Talk. Now, this is one of your best programs on education on television. I'm Wilma. Today, we'll be discussing various issues that are occurred in the educational sector throughout the week, and also the new and innovative ways in which kids learn these days. Now, to discuss these various issues with me is Dr. Chris Imafidon. He is in the studio with me today. Dr. Chris, you're very welcome to our studios.
Thanks for your kind invitation.
Now, a 36-year-old entrepreneur in Ivory Coast is launching Africa's first educational tablet. Thierry Ndufel came up with the idea of Qelasy when he thought of transferring a country's entire education curriculum onto a digital format, along with sounds, animations, and interactivity. And you no longer need a satchel crammed with school books. Qelasy is a digital backpack, a tablet that will replace books, textbooks, and even notepads. The Ivorian government will be introducing the tablets to 5,000 students in public schools, while some private schools in both Ivory Coast and Morocco will be running pilot projects. They have also had interest from Ukraine, Macedonia, Senegal, Nigeria, and France. Dr. Chris, it is obvious that this is the phase all schools all over the world are getting into, the complete eradication of hard copies of textbooks, and this is down to the primary school level. Now, what about the UK?
The UK has been quite slow in picking up a lot of the technologies. I know that the introduction of the interactive whiteboard was an issue. Some teachers even vowed not to use the tool because they were used to old tools. So if we don't have resistance from the professional and from the practitioners, then we'll probably may be able to swim in this new sea of learning. But if we do, the only people that are going to suffer or that will lose out will be the students, because they'll be using the tools of yesteryears. They should be embraced, really, because we don't see any long-term disadvantage to the students in terms of learning or acquiring knowledge.
Let's look at the teachers. The teachers are also expected to go high-tech with these new gadgets and teach the students. Now, how many of them are willing to learn?
The BET Educational Roadshow that takes place every year did a survey that was about 4 years ago. And as at 4 years ago, less than 20% of teachers were ready to embrace the new tools. We're hoping that in a period of 4 years, if they're going to repeat that same survey today, we'll probably get about 10 or 15%, much more than what we had 4 years ago. But the educational establishment is very slow to change, extremely conservative. So we shouldn't hold out much hope in terms of having this same breed of teachers. If this generation of teachers pass away, then it'll be easier for you to introduce it at the teaching training level.
To wait for this generation of teachers to pass means a whole generation is going to suffer.
That's right. So that's a problem of having a conservative system or a conservative bunch of individuals that rule or assume positions in terms of leadership. If we've had the same people running our transport system, we'll still be on motorbikes by now. So what teachers need to be aware of is the advantage, the extra work that your child will need to do without your supervision. So in effect, you're reducing the workload of teachers. But if you want a paper-based system, because they believe that's more reliable, that's more tested, that's more tried, it means that our students are going to suffer and other children from other nations will overtake us, sadly.
Definitely. The Scandinavian countries are already embracing this. France has said they would embrace the Qelasy tablet. But the point is, how do we make it faster for the children here in the UK? The
children in the UK can do it informally. You can go ahead, right now, nothing stops any child from going to W.H. Smith or any of the bookshops to go and buy books that they want to read, or get an iPad from their parents and use it interactively. So parents may want to subvert the system, the old conservative system, by encouraging their students or exposing their children to this technology.
But the problem is that it would not be embraced in the classroom because the teacher is not using the tablet.
Yeah, because the teacher has lost leadership. The teacher has not embraced new technology. Most teachers have refused to come to the cutting edge of learning. They are more interested in the, if you like, the formality of going to a classroom every day and then shutting down at about 3 or 4. they want just the routine. They don't want such an upheaval, or what some people will call a revolution. They will rather want an evolution. That means a gradual introduction of different things, why they are being tested or tried alongside. But that's a very weak excuse. I think by now, we should be awakened to the fact that in medicine, technology is being used. In transportation, technology is being used. Why should we lock technology out of the classroom? I mean, it's disappointing that about 2 years ago, we were widely quoted that a very prominent British professor of physics said no computers should be in the classroom. That's about a year ago. He said, that's a prominent professor of science, physics, saying no computers should be in the classroom. So there's always going to be a tussle between, a real struggle between the conservative wing of teachers that believe that they must stick with the old system, and the young and vibrant, youthful young graduates that want to use and experiment and explore with every new tool.
And that gap is not about to be breached soon? I
don't think it will be breached, because they are both entrenched in their very established positions.
Well, let's go further now. Now, if your child loves gaming, do not discourage them at all. It may be well worth it, as you would see in this next report.
There's some huge voices in America and the UK and around the world saying children should be learning to code. You know, why are we not teaching our children to code?
I love programming computer games. I think it's more fun than playing them.
It's a valuable part of the economy, and it's a skill shortage, and we need good coders in this country.
There needs to be a big leap forward in thinking there to get it moving forward fast, and particularly, how can we get coding into the curriculum faster? It really is so super important.
My name's David Miller. I'm Chief Learning Architect at Qelasy Studios, and we're based here in London in Shoreditch.
Normally you get a team who are very much school-based, education-based, and they try to make a game that's fun.
By virtue of that, you kind of get a game that's very worthy, but really dull.
My classroom was always a place of play and humour and fun, but at the same time there was serious and deep learning going on, so the game has to be fun, it has to be engaging.
We wanted things that kids get really excited about and buzz in the playground, otherwise it doesn't work. We just got out this app called Qelasy, and it's all about learning to code via JavaScript.
It's a turn-based game, so it's kind of like mega chess, if you like, with robots. So you have these two robots, and they're both protecting a kind of a central core, and the idea is that each pair of robots has to move to the other side of the arena and hack the core of their opponents 3 times, and then they've won the game. In order to make their robots move at all, they've actually got to call functions in JavaScript.
The JavaScript is very much an introduction. It's for people that have never faced it before, which means that anyone can pick it up. We've targeted it 11 to 14 as a starting age, but we already know of 8 and 9-year-olds that have had a go with it because it is so well scaffolded and in a structured framework, and there's a tangible result to it as well.
In the classroom you would have a test, which is, can you do this and can you do that? Whereas with a game, the test is the game itself. So if you have managed to defeat someone else with your robot, that is proof that you've learned how to code.
Yeah, it's a good game. It's like one of them games like strategy and kind of warfare, which a lot of kids like these days. The graphics are good on it as well. It's a lot of fun, just not when you're getting shot and stuff.
Yeah, that's what makes you want to learn more about it, so that you can show it to your friends. Yeah, if you make a mistake, then it will just turn red, so then you can just go back to that code and rewrite what you done wrong. So it's quite easy to figure out, and it's quite easy to get the hang of the codes and stuff.
What I found fascinating was in testing the game both in the UK and in the States was how quickly kids just intuited what they should be doing. They were straight in there using the correct syntax, they were correcting one another.
Comma, and then how many squares you would want to move forward, close brackets, and then semicolon.
I think games like Qelasy are very good at sparking interest. It's something that introduces them to coding in a particular way and shows that it can be fun.
Yes, I've got it to go where I wanted it to go. I'm so happy.
And yes, indeed, you are happy having learned how to code. And the good news is this: the Next Gen Academy, sponsored by Creative Industries and the government, have pledged cash to provide cutting-edge training in a sector worth at least £71 billion a year to the UK economy. Now, Dr. Chris, you have a webinar coming up on innovation.
Yes, it's really trying to know that every single device we have today requires some degree of programming. Every single device. So there is a software that is running that little thing that you think you're using in terms of remote control and your TV. There's a software that's running your mobile phone. There's a software happening literally everywhere. So if you cannot innovate and really drown yourself in the sea of programming, then you will be left behind. That's a penalty. And you don't want to say, oh, as an adult has been left behind, and therefore my son and my daughter should be left behind, because everyone that is able to write a set of instructions is able to code. That's what coding is. Don't think that you need to have a diploma or a bachelor's degree to code. No, you don't need to be a trained computer scientist to code. You just need to have a love for writing instruction, experimenting with the instruction, and then coming back to verify the instruction and then change it. And the more you refine it, the better you are. We have had 17-year-old Nick that wrote an app, and the app sold for multi-million-dollars. Yes. If that was not nurtured, that would have been suppressed, the student would have been frustrated, and the child maybe probably giving up on education because they don't want to go in that path. So every single child has talents that we can explore if we expose them to these materials, if we expose them to so-called gadgets. They are not gadgets now, they are really learning tools. They are opportunity for them to express their talent, express their interest, and even have it commercially harnessed to the advantage of the student. And that will build their confidence. That's why they say, oh, you mean I was able to start something from scratch, and this is now my invention, or this is my thoughts that has now been put down, and it's really making some impact, no matter how little the impact is. The fact that they follow the principles and they've been able to deliver a piece of code means that they've done something creative and is imaginative, because it was not there before. They thought of it, they wrote it up, and now it's done something. And no matter how little it is, that's what most people need to understand. If you read the book, The Road Ahead by Bill Gates, you see how he started his own programming in his early teens as a 13-year-old. So if he was able to do it in his generation, then this generation that has far more tools ought to be able to not just replicate it, but surpass whatever or exceed whatever he did in his time.
These are some of the tips you'll be giving parents and students at your webinar on innovation, how to harness the talent in a child and really use it for productivity, creativity, to be able to innovate.
Yes, you need to be able to know how to detect it, you need to know how to develop it, and it wouldn't cost you money. It's just imagination. It wouldn't cost you. You'll be using the current facilities you have at home. You don't need to buy a new desktop. You don't need to buy a new laptop. You use the current computing tools that you have at home, or that the student may be exposed to in the school, or even if you don't have it in the school or at home, you can go to the local library and be able to explore and use